that is the Xbox prices jump up again. And this is only in the United States. They've raised prices previously. It's hit around the entire world. And we've seen that happen in many different places. And it's been raised in Canada. It's been raised in various other parts where Xbox does sell. But this one specifically, as we know right now, this one is only hitting in the United States again, bringing the prices of the Xbox Series X to absurd amounts, to almost to a point where it's like they don't care about selling this console. They know they're not selling this console at this price, so they're just raising it now as we're closing out this generation and then preparing for the next gen. But it does not bode well, I think, going into the next generation. They do not want to take a loss on these consoles anymore. I think at this point, especially at the prices that they're at, they're going to be selling it for a pretty good profit. But here is the big news that just dropped today. Xbox prices jump in the US, and they say here, gamers pay the price for the tariffs. Now, obviously, this is always a debate, whether it's the tariffs or not. My personal opinion right off of the bat is, yes, tariffs absolutely play a role in the prices going up. I think it's kind of absurd for people to just ignore the fact that tariffs have had no effect on Xbox and all of these electronics where prices have gone up. Now, is it the only thing? You can argue there's other things involved. Or yes, you can argue the greed of the companies and everything, and they're passing on the additional costs to the consumers. They're not eating it themselves, even though they absolutely could because they're $1 trillion company. But to pretend like tariffs just have no effects on pricing going up is absurd. I've seen some arguments out there as well when you take a look at the new iPhone that has come out, and that they said that the tariffs don't affect that. That's ignoring the fact that there are exemptions in the tariffs that the US has put on specific products, and phones and everything are exempted. Gaming consoles are not. They are considered, I actually have the tweet here. They are considered, we have this here. They are considered a separate category and subject to full tariffs. This is Daniel Ahmad here, who's responding to Gene Park saying, it's interesting that the newest iPhones, except the Pro models, stayed the same price, while gaming is pushing further into luxury with comparably much older tech. And Daniel Mobb says, this is because Trump exempted certain smartphone and computer parts from reciprocal tariffs. The only issue is that the United States government does not consider a video game console to be a computer, and video game consoles are considered a separate category and subject to full tariff. So yes, tariffs are playing a role in it. How much of a role? I mean, could the companies be making different choices? Of course, but to pretend like tariffs have no role is kind of absurd to me. It says the tariff situation in the United States is going from bad to worse as companies continue to pass on the added cost to consumers. And this is basically, I think this is the second time recently that they've raised prices, maybe the third time overall, but this is where the prices are going in. It puts these consoles in a range where it's like, you can't recommend people to go out and buy an Xbox today. You just can't. Like, you're not spending these types of prices on a 5-year-old device where you could be putting that money, and even if you're not spending it, saving it for the next gen. There's just no reason at this point to go out and buy an Xbox console. There just really isn't at these prices. So one of the things you would think now, 5 years into the generation, is that, yeah, the consoles would have gone down in price, and it would be a no-brainer to buy a Series S at something for maybe like $150 or $200, or an Xbox Series X at like $300 or $350. So at this point, these prices, I can't really recommend it. But here are the prices. So the Xbox Series S at 512 gigabytes is now $400. The previous price was $379, which that was before the last raise, because I believe when the Series S 512 gigabyte did launch, it was $299. So they already raised it a bunch. Series S 1 terabyte is $430. That's the previous price, and now it's at $450. The Series X digital was at $550. It is now $600. The Xbox Series X, the regular one with the disk drive, was at $600. Now it's at $650. And then the Series X 2 terabyte Galaxy Black Special Edition, which the only difference here is the extra terabyte of storage and then some speckles on the actual outer shell, is $700. It was $730, and now it is $800 for just an Xbox Series X with 2 terabyte storage. Basically, is that what you're getting with that? So pretty insane stuff there in terms of the pricing. And people are like, oh, Xbox, why are they doing this? They don't want to sell. They don't care about selling this console anymore, clearly, at these prices. They really don't. To them, this is just whoever wants to still buy this. Some people will still buy this. That's the crazy part. It's not like the sales are going to go to absolutely zero. People will still buy this, whether it's a consumer who wants it. It'll be maybe a business will buy it, and then they do what they do with that. They write it off on their taxes and stuff. Like there are still going to be people purchasing these devices, but they're just thinking, yeah, we're raising the prices. We're making sure we're not losing money on this. Tariffs do play a role. You can deny it all you want. It is. They do play a role. And that it plays a role in the overall cost it makes to produce these things and sell it. And for them to make a profit, it makes their margins. They have to change those, which is why they do raise these prices, or at least one of the reasons. So they're just thinking we'll make money for whoever wants to buy one of these things. And at this point, we're moving on anyways from the Series X and S. We're going to the next generation. We're going to the Xbox ecosystem where Xbox is everywhere. They're able to subsidize making money on Xbox from PlayStation gamers who are spending all their money on Xbox games. So the reality is they don't care about selling the Xbox anymore with this generation. Now, next gen, we'll see what happens. I think next generation basically means that the Xbox is going to be a luxury product, the one that does come from Microsoft, purely a luxury product where it's going to be very expensive. There are going to be OEM Xboxes though, where they're going to be cheaper, and you're going to be able to get in that way if you do want an Xbox branded console. But from Xbox themselves, it does sound like to me that yes, it's a luxury product going forward. Next gen probably starting pretty high, especially if they're still in this situation economically and everything. If the tariffs completely go away, maybe that changes things slightly. But we did see how much the PS5 Pro launched at, and I feel like that is the base price going into the next gen. I'm thinking, $700 at the very least going into the next generation. The other thing that I think it comes up where we're wondering why we haven't seen or heard about the prices here for the ROG Xbox Ally. I'm now concerned about the prices of that thing because we have been hearing that potentially they were going to reduce the price. They were going to eat some more of the costs. It does not seem like that is going to be the case right now. I don't see how they can justify selling that one at a cheaper price when they're raising the prices of the console itself. I feel like the price of the ROG Xbox Ally will be higher than that $899 leak, I guess you could say, that they've been mentioning. And there has, I believe Destin put out that's he basically said those are the confirmed prices, $550 for the Ally, then $900 for the Ally X. Now he did put out a video. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know if anybody has seen it at all, but he updated his thoughts on that. So I'll have to take a look at that. Maybe we can watch here, but I feel like the Ally devices are going to be pretty expensive. And if you take a look, it has the Z2E in it with the Ally X. It was coming in at a decent price comparatively to what other Z2E products were selling at on the market. I wonder if they're just going to push it up to where the other ones are and try to get as much out of it. Like the Lenovo Legion Go 2 is going to be over $1,000, but that also has, I think, it's a far better piece of hardware in terms of the screen size, and the features that do come with it with the detachable controllers. But yeah, these prices are absolutely crazy. And Xbox did comment on this, or Microsoft commented on this. They say here, we are navigating an incredibly dynamic environment right now. We've assessed the changing macroeconomic environment and addressed the applicable impacts. They say, indeed, the tariff situation between the United States and China, where Xbox consoles are manufactured, changes on a near monthly cadence with different parts of the console subject to different duties. Earlier exemptions expired recently, but there's no telling what new ones could be put in place tomorrow. And they say Trump is expected to meet with Chinese Premier Xi in near future, following a landmark deal to transfer TikTok's U.S. operations to American companies like Oracle. There, every chance a thaw in tariffs could emerge there. And China has also issued its own curbs on some American tech, such as NVIDIA's AI chips. And then Microsoft support pages on the matter conceded that the changes are challenging, emphasizing that they're ramping up access to Xbox content in other ways, saying, beginning on October 3rd, we will update the recommended retailer pricing for the Series S and the Series X consoles in the United States due to changes in the macroeconomic environment. We understand that these changes are challenging and they were made with careful consideration. Looking ahead, we continue to focus on offering more ways to play more games across any screen and providing value for Xbox players. I mean, they're saying it right there. They know it doesn't matter because Xbox is available everywhere. So the sale of these consoles, it doesn't really matter to them. But there it is. That is a big increase from where we started. To think that this generation did launch at $500 and now it's up to $650. We've never seen anything like this. I don't recall in any generation previously. And you would think at this point we would have had cheaper consoles, bundles, all of that stuff. Because even in the past, let's say that the console, because we know that the console market is stagnant. They're finding it harder to be able to reach more gamers and sell more consoles. In fact, there's a good article here that I'll pull up and we'll go over that they do talk about this. And it really proves the point as to why these companies are struggling a little bit in the hardware space and why they're trying to expand out to as many people as possible. It's simply because less people are just buying consoles with games available everywhere, PC more accessible. There's no point in picking up the console. So with that, they're trying to find ways to make more money. But I think in the past, let's say they wanted to increase the amount of money they make off of each console, they wouldn't just go ahead and raise prices and expect people 5 years into a generation where the console obviously is nowhere near leading tech in any way to go out and spend more money. They would just try to have it be the console that is sold as a no-brainer. People walk into the store, they see the price, they don't really think twice about it because it's not crazy expensive, and they go ahead and buy it and they sell more units that way. Now, the exact opposite is actually happening. But the one of the interesting things here we are seeing specifically about consoles, comes from the game business. And everyone's favorite Christopher Dring, whether you like him or not, he does recognize this, saying the number of active PS5 and Xbox Series consoles will be 14 million behind what the PS4 and the Xbox One achieved during the same point in their life cycle. So there's significant amount behind, a couple million here behind, 14 million behind where they were last gen. And this is going to get worse, in my opinion. I believe this is absolutely going to get worse as we move forward into the next generation. Consoles aren't going to magically start selling more. They're going to start selling less and less, and you have to find different ways to be able to get people who still want that experience, or maybe provide more options and try to get new customers, which would be the OEM side of things. If you're building like an Asus Xbox console, maybe that attracts more PC customers who previously wouldn't buy a console. You're adding Steam into the equation. That will get more people to buy a console who previously wouldn't buy a console if they can access their Steam games as well. So all of that is occurring right now. And yeah, these prices are kind of pushing that into that direction even more.